Another equation to solve. Let's analyze it again to see what kind of equation we have. Highest power of the variable is 2. That's our quadratic equation. We solve quadratic equations by factoring. The equation must be in standard form before we start our factoring process. Standard form, all of the terms are written on one side of the equation, zeros on the other side. We write the equations in descending power of the variable. Squared term is written first, then first power term, then constant. This equation is ready for us to start our solution. And again, our solution method is factoring. We're going to factor that trinomial. Remember to always look first for any common factors that we can divide out. If we look at the 3, the 14, and the 8, those terms do not share a common factor other than 1. And it does us no good to divide out 1. So we continue on approaching that trinomial and recognizing that trinomials factor into the product of two binomials. We're not going to put in our signs. This sign is a plus. That comes from having two pluses in the binomials or two minuses in the binomials. And this is the sign that tells us which to use. Since this is addition, in the binomials we will have two additions. Remember the next step then in your factoring process. You ask yourself what factor pairs would make 3x squared. That would be 1x times 3x would be the factor pairs to make 3x squared. Then we look at what factor pairs would make 8. That would be 1 times 8 and 2 times 4. Now we need to pick the right combination that will make plus 14x with the O and the I of FOIL. So let's put x here, let's put 3x there, and let's put the 2 here and the 4 there. I don't know if that's going to work. That was the order in which I wrote them down on the board. That's why I wrote them in that order into the binomials. Let's check the O and the I of FOIL. The O of FOIL is going to give us plus 4x. And the I of FOIL is going to give us plus 6x. And that doesn't give us 14x. That just gives us plus 10x. So we don't have the right combination. We need to change and try again with our factoring. So let's simply interchange the 2 and the 4. Now try the O and the I of FOIL and see what that produces. The O of FOIL now produces plus 2x. And the I of FOIL now produces plus 12x. And we've found the correct factorization because these two terms combine to plus 14x. Now we're ready to perform our analysis to find the solutions. What value could we put into x that would cause this side of the equation to become 0, the same as the other side, which means we have a solution? So we examine the factors separately. What value could we put in place of x that would make this factor become 0? Well, that would be if x was -4, wouldn't it? -4 plus 4 would be 0, and 0 times anything would give us 0, which means we have a solution. So one solution is x equals -4. Now, this binomial factor is a little more difficult to analyze. To figure out what value could you put in place of x that would make this quantity become 0. When you have that situation where it's a little harder to analyze, what we can do, we can create a linear equation. Remember, linear equations, the highest power of the variable is 1. We can create this linear equation, solve this equation, and that will tell us what value of x would make this quantity become 0. We'd subtract 2 from both sides, and then divide both sides by 3. Our other solution is that if x is -2/3, this factor becomes 0. 0 times anything is 0. We have our two solutions to that quadratic equation.